What it's saying is that wicked people, their sacrifice and worship is not accepted, whereas the righteous are accepted. Sacrifice by itself is nothing. Prayers are pleasing when offered by those who walk upright and straight. Whatever you offer to God is pleasing to the Lord if your heart is pure. If you've asked God for forgiveness and you're walking the way that He asks us to walk. Worship can never be divorced from our day-to-day activities. We can't worship on Sunday and go live like the devil on Monday or even Tuesday. Wednesday's all right. No. There's somebody out there going, oh, I'll sin on Wednesday then. Worship can never be separated from what we do during our weekday lives. The Lord detests the way of the wicked, but He loves those who pursue righteous. Again, one of these Lord sayings here in the book of Proverbs. The scene shifts from acts of worship to acts of everyday life. And He wants us to know that He delights when we are righteous in our everyday activities. You're righteous at your work. You're righteous in your home. You're righteous when you're playing. You're righteous when you're working. Everything needs to be righteous. And God says that our righteousness in our everyday life is tied up with our worship life. This proverb contrasts two paths. Those are indicated by those words used for way and for pursue. And it says one path will lead to destruction, one path will lead to righteousness. Verse 10 says, stern discipline awaits him who leaves the path. He who hates correction will die. The one who leaves the path of righteousness hates discipline. Discipline is something that is necessary if we are going to be wise. We need correction. We need instruction. And that will keep us safe. Instruction on how to drive a car will keep us safe once we start driving on the highway. However unpleasant it may be, correction is preferable to death. No, don't go play out on the freeway. That is preferable to dying. Death and destruction lie open before the Lord. How much more the hearts of men? How much more takes an accepted truth and applies it to a new situation? Something that everybody was agreed on in their day, and then applying it to a new situation. And so this one says everybody knows that God knows what happens with death, and he knows what goes on in destruction. God knows. We may not know. It's a simple thing with God, but since it's such a simple thing with God, we also then, it's not a stretch to believe that He knows what's in our hearts. If He understands death, He certainly understands us, and so we can rely upon Him to know what's going on in our life. God not only looks on our behaviors, but He looks on our intentions. Beth and I, in watching football this year, have noticed that refs are giving out penalties for intentions. He intended to hit that guy in the head. Well, how do you know he intended that? Come on. You can't judge by intentions. You can judge by their actions. And but God knows everything and knows our hearts, knows our intentions as well. And He can judge those. And then the last 6 verses, it talks about love and death. There are many overlapping themes in this particular chapter, and it talks about joy and contentment, but it also realizes that there are times when there is great sadness, when there is death and destruction that is happening as well. It's part of our lives. A mocker resents correction. He will not consult the wise. Like the one who leaves the path, the mocker, I hate to say that, the mocker resents correction and proves it by failing to ask questions. A person who says, I know all the answers, really doesn't. And we need to ask wise people questions. We need to ask people who are a little further along on the path than ourselves questions about how to live this life. We become wise through both association and instruction, and the mocker avoids both. A happy heart makes the face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit. The difference between a heart... We don't want her to become not have a cheerful heart. The difference between a heart that rejoices and one full of sorrow can be seen on your face. It leaks out. That which is deep within comes out. Now, we've read Proverbs that say that only God knows what's on the inside and only you can understand what's there, and sometimes you have to suffer alone. but is on the inside will leak out into your life. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. You know, the previous verses talk about what comes out of the mouth and saying that fools' words just gush out and just, destroy everything in their paths. But this verse reverses that and says that, oh, no, it's what goes in that the fool. And the fool often eats his own folly and believes his own untruths and believes his own decisions are wise in this world. We can choose to act on the basis of an understanding heart, or we can choose to act on our appetites. That's a picture of a child about to eat a jalapeno. They are not understanding their desire to eat. They don't have understanding. And they need to be instructed, like all of us need to be instructed. We can choose to act on that understanding, or we can choose to just act on our desires. And the Proverbs tell us we need to act with understanding. All the days of the oppressed are wretched, but the cheerful heart has a continual feast. The cheerful heart is a good heart, literally a good heart. And that could be cheerful. It could also be contented. It could also be trusting. Whatever is good in this world. The Proverbs are saying that this is the kind of heart that we want. And it produces a continual feast. These heart sayings set the stage for some statements on contentment. And we need to have a contented heart in this world. It will help us when things aren't going our way and we're getting what only the things that we have. Better is a little with the fear of the Lord than great wealth with turmoil. The saying points out that things are never as simple as they seem. And I put up a picture of online dating. It's never as simple as they seem, because you hear this wonderful report, and there's a lovely young lady on the left, and for the one person in this audience, well, two, who understands Doctor Who, that's a Dalek on the right. Daleks are nasty little monsters. Ken, do you know that? You're not a Doctor Who fan? Luke is back there. I put this up for Luke. Oh, okay. The world is never as simple as it seems. There are mitigating factors that make having a little preferable to having a lot. And one of those is that you have love in this world. Better a meal with vegetables where there is love than a fattened calf with hatred. All right, you remember, Lady and the Tramp, they got their food out of the garbage can, but there was love. And frankly, that's better than having a ton of stuff in this world. This better than saying extends the idea that humble circumstances are not to be despised. It is better to have both meat and love, the fattened calf, and to have love. But if we have to choose, you should probably choose love. That particular card says, I love food and Ryan Gosling. Well, you're not getting Ryan Gosling, so you might as well have love. I put that up there for Olivia. Okay. A hot-tempered man stirs up dissension, but a patient man calms a quarrel. The comparison here shows the response that we have to situations, and that response can change things. If you blow up at a situation, it will make the situation worse. If you calmly answer that situation, you will make it better. While some people typically create dissension, there are others who typically pour oil on the water and quiet things down. We choose how to respond, just as we choose to have a good heart or to fear God or to love. We choose our responses in this world. There are a lot of sayings in the book of Proverbs about speech. It seems like every other proverb seems to be about speech. The importance of speaking and listening comes up again and again here, because this is the medium that connects us. This is what makes the world turn. There are two aspects of communication that are in view here. The first is managing situations of conflict. Things are going to go wrong. How are you going to deal with that? The second is communicating what you know to others, becoming a teacher, and whether they are going to listen to you or not. So we have two aspects that we seem to pick out here that seem to have a little more prominence than others. Social interaction and business dealings are always going to have a little conflict. When you study how to write a story in school, they tell you that conflict is good. You have to have a protagonist and you have to have an antagonist, and you have them working together or fighting each other or getting along.